Vega?
Here.
Ms. Oliver?
Here.
Vice Chair Rodriguez?
Here.
Ms. Azak?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
I'm here as well. We have no members remote tonight. At this time, we'll go to Agenda 4, which is our hearing of visitors. Mrs. Campbell has given me the sign-in. Again, we allow 3 minutes to speak. We are, by policy, limited to 15, which would be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7. As chair, I'm going to allow all 7 to speak tonight. And so at this time, the first person, Mr. Angel Cosme, please. Angel. Good evening.
Good evening. Waiting for my strength. All right. Good evening, everybody. It's my baby. Say what's up, Javen. All right, I know I got time. So, dear members of the Brockton School Committee, my name is Angel Cosme. I am a Brockton resident and a licensed special education teacher for 7th grade for students with emotional impairments at West Middle School. I'm here today to express my deep disappointment and concern regarding decisions that affect our district's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. The Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion will be downgraded from a full office to a single director position. This move is particularly troubling given the unique demographic makeup of our city as the first and only majority black city in New England. An EDI office is vital for addressing the needs of our diverse student population. A robust and fully staffed EDI office ensures that we can effectively advocate for and support the needs of all of our students, fostering an environment where all feel valued and included. Furthermore, I am deeply concerned about the relocation of the Sabuda program and the Adult Learning Center, 2 programs where I have taught English to our immigrant brothers and sisters. Both of these programs are also critical to our community, providing essential services and supports that will have a lasting impact on our students and families. I have other things written here, but I kind of want to share a personal story of how the EDI office helped me. So I am a community organizer by heart. The things that I do is always about the community. So I was working as a community organizer, and I feel like I was applying for jobs. Wait a minute, baby. That I'm qualified for. I have a master's degree in education. I'm licensed as a special education teacher, also history. I wasn't even getting interviews, right? And I personally believe it's because of some of the noise, the truth that I was calling to those in power. And I called the EDI office. Listen, I'm not even getting interviewed. They helped to facilitate me getting an interview. I met with Principal Campbell, and now I'm a teacher in the EI department, back to teaching. I've been teaching prior to that, in between. EDI office is critical. It's critical. And it's not just hear this, because some people may think I'm not a person of color. It doesn't affect me. It benefits everybody, right? When you promote policies and procedures that are equitable and inclusive, we're talking special education, we're talking different abilities of our children, right? We're talking about addressing cultural sensitive needs of our student. So EDI, Sabuda, the Virtual Learning Center, we're in a city like ours, it doesn't make sense to cut those programs. I'm here with my students, they got some things to say too, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Are you Gabriel?
Yep.
Gabriel, you're up next.
Here we go.
Good evening.
All right, here we go.
Take a deep breath, man. You'll do great.
I hope so.
You will.
All right, here we go. Good evening. I am Gabriel Duverglass. I am an 8th grade honor student and a member of the National Junior Honor Society. I am also a member of West Middle School Student Equity Council, led by Mr. Cosme. I have been made aware of BPS's plans to downgrade EDI from a full office to a single director position. I have come to express my extreme concern over these decisions, and I will explain my reasons for my concern. You see, on February of this year, a student by the name of Next Benedict committed suicide due to their peers bullying them about being non-binary. The day before, Benedict had been brutally assaulted by their classmates after going to the bathroom. While this may have been their breaking point, this had gone on for an entire year straight without nobody stopping this. Despite this happening in Oklahoma, they do not have anything similar to the EDI, which eventually costed them a student's life. If we downgrade the EDI, we potentially risk hundreds upon thousands of lives to discrimination. We cannot allow that to happen. I implore BPS to reconsider these decisions, as the EDI is vital to our students' safety. Thank you all to listening to what I have to say. I wish you all a safe and fulfilling rest of the evening. Goodbye.
Did you sign in or no? Huh? If nobody objects, we'll have Mr. Curry go out of order, okay? Tyler, good evening.
Good evening. Okay. Hello, my name is Tyler Curry. I'm from West Middle School in 8th grade. I am in the Student Equity Council, and from the changes of cutting off the EDI, I think that would be wrong for everyone. The EDI is helping all of us, and I can't just do nothing for it. I'm here to make the future of school practically better. For the past few months in 8th grade, I've been bullied. I want to keep EDI so life in school could be better than now. We must bring back EDI. This could be the future of every kid, from the experiences of being a victim of being bullied. I remember being hit or spat on from people, or even people just always never liking you, and joining with the bully, people doing nothing in fights, just recording. EDI could help all of us out. Please, to everyone, bring back EDI. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Excellent job, young men. At this time, Mr. John C. Williams, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Tonight, you all will have to excuse me because I'm speaking to Brockton parents. I'm speaking to Brockton school administrators. I'm speaking to Brockton teachers because you have spoken. Throughout this year, we have seen this committee, this body. We've seen the mayor's office. We've seen our city government really show how much they could care less about minorities in this city. We have built structures to try to be equitable in this city because we know the history that exists here. We know it. The community has built structures. We've had people that are sitting right here that have spent their time and energy and passion to make a change. And there are some on this board that has done the same thing. I've known Anna forever. I've seen her do work. I've known Tony for a long time. Some of you I don't know, but I've seen you ask questions, Claudio. I know Miss Asak. I know people that know her. I've spoken with Judy Sullivan a number of times on things. I don't know you, but I'm sure I will soon. But we've taken away the supports for our kids. We've taken away the supports for our teachers. And as a parent, I'm taking off the community activist and mentor hat. I'm the parent of 2 students in our TAG program. And because of what you hear and what you see, I went and volunteered in my son's school to try to help what's going on. And they do a wonderful job at the Pluff, and we put together some proactive things with principal up here. And as soon as I come say something about it, you all say that no one can volunteer in the schools. I think every parent should look to try to volunteer if they could, to see what's going on and help. But you all won't even allow people to volunteer. But we're in a money shortage. We're in a staff shortage. You're willing to pay 2 superintendents. We've got multiple deputy superintendents. We're top heavy. We're not cutting none of that. But we won't let community parents volunteer. We'll buy all them buses and pay all that money for people and shift money around. I told you were going to have to sell those buses. That's the only logical thing. But we do all this when our school system has become minority majority. When I was in school, things were great. Anyone that went to school when I was in public schools in Brockton, we had our issues, but we made sure kids got educated, kids went to college, that violence was down. We made sure of that. But remember, our school system was 52% white then, and it's 12% white now. And we see how you feel about it.
Donna Scanlon, please. Donna Scanlon.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm here again tonight because I took the liberty to watch the last committee meeting that I was not able to be here for. I'm concerned, again, my child is at the Huntington Therapeutic Day School. And I understand, I kudos to everybody. I watching everybody's face, and I understand, I'm looking at everyone, and I see the stress that everyone's feeling of, you put it perfectly, you felt uncomfortable. There was too many movement, there's too many things happening. It is, and I'm listening to other parents and other teachers and other people speak, and it is vital. I think that there's too many hands in the pot. This is my opinion. I come from a managerial background, nothing major. But sometimes, I don't know where it all comes from. I don't know all the ins and outs. I'm new to this. But why, I don't understand why we're still arguing over who's going where. The city of Brockton itself has a ridiculous number of empty buildings. Why has the city not rehabbed these buildings already? Why do I look downtown that's half done? It's been like that. I've been here 12 years. It's been like that since like the second year I've been here. It still looks the same. What are we doing to rectify all that? There's all this money missing. There's all this money going out to all these things. I'm hearing about funding. People are doing all these things to get the funding for the schools, and then the funding disappears. I know that there's changes. You've got new people in positions that I watched again. Your finance lady who looks fabulous. But the Huntington, I'm still going to push for the Huntington to go to the, I can't remember the name of the building now. Jones. The Jones, sorry. I am pushing for that. Our kids are really important, and especially with the special needs. Listening to this young boy talk about the bullying, both of my kids went to West Middle School, and I remember the kind of bullying. You don't get that at the Huntington. At least I haven't. My child hasn't. It's a wonderful program, and I know that this city has a lot of programs. There is so much to this city. The problem is it's not unified. You guys need to unify all of it, figure it out, put it all together. Give the main offices a home, a single home. These programs can help each other. That's the whole point. We're supposed to be a community. And no offense, in my neighborhood, I'm the token white girl. I don't care. I bleed red, just like every single person in this room. We're no different. Our backgrounds might be different, but we're all here for one reason. We're all here to make it better for these kids, to put them in the right places. And my understanding, my time is up. Thank you very much.
Michelle Henson, please. Michelle Henson.
Good evening, everyone. A couple of weeks ago, I had the privilege of visiting the Pluff School. What an amazing place. And I got to go because Mr. Williams was volunteering. And if you had seen the interaction between him and the students, and him and the teachers, and him and the office staff, you would have the same smile that I have, because it's a nice thing to see. You would see a dad in there, his son is there, in there, and you see kids responding to him. And it was beautiful. And I thought, okay, maybe I can find a way just for next year, get ready to try to volunteer, if it's just once a week. So imagine my dismay to learn that John was asked to leave by a principal who was bullied into making that decision. Can you imagine? We have a dad, and I'm gonna start with just a dad showing up to be there, not costing anything, but a black man shows up to support this school, and all of a sudden now we're gonna let personal issues get in the way. We're gonna raise a ruckus, crack some whips, cause some mess. I'm over it. I want everybody to remember that 2025 is an election year. We need more than 8% of the people to show up, because this is what we're going to continuously get, people that do not care about our children, people who only care about their seat of power and whatever else they get from it. And I'm just, like I said, I'm over it. And you all know this dragon is going to roar all over you, all over you, all over you. I'm talking to you.
Talking to me?
I'm talking to
Yeah?
you. You
Okay.
know.
Get the facts, Miss
I'm
Henson.
talking. I have the
Miss
facts.
Henson. No, you don't.
I have the facts.
No, you do not.
Well, then let's see.
People in
But
the
see,
schools do
whenever
not work for the mayor of Brockton.
Whenever you, oh yeah, it's
We're
always
gonna
the
move
mayor
on now.
of Brockton. Nope, I still have 25 seconds, and the mayor of Brockton, who's the chair of this school committee, always has a chance to say that it's not me. It's not my job, but you're the chair.
True.
And you're the mayor.
true.
2 jobs.
Okay.
So now you can come for me if you want to.
Don't want to.
Okay.
Don't need to.
But have a nice day.
You
No,
too.
you don't. But
God bless you.
should.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Hearing a visit. You're not supposed to say nothing. You want to say something.
Ivelisse Corobola, please. Ivelisse.
The questions of parents have been asking you questions all year. This is the hearing of visitors.
Ivelisse Corobola, please.
Ivelis Caraballo, thank you so much. So I am the executive director of C-Plan, which is a network of parent advocates in education. I'm going to cut straight to the chase. The education system was originally designed for a limited demographic a long time ago, where learning styles, different abilities, and so many other dimensions of diversity was just not taken into account. This causes a great deal of marginalization to anyone who doesn't fall exclusively to that very old and outdated design. Despite the evolution of our society's strengths, abilities, and skills, the education system has largely remained unchanged. This is specific and outdated design naturally perpetuates inequities for a diverse population of students, which is what we have here in Brockton. To ensure that this diversity is embraced, that inclusion fosters a sense of belonging, and that equity is achieved, we must continually evolve our policies and practices in line with the needs of our student body. The areas where we observe these inequities include recruitment and retention within teachers and staff, opportunities and accessibility to AP, honors, and CP courses, higher rates of disciplinary practices towards Black, Latino, and special needs students. It creates achievement gaps, and so on and so forth. The work of the EDI office is foundational to education, especially in a district as diverse as Brockton. The diversity encompasses not just race, but also culture, socioeconomic status, language, ideology, citizenship status, and so much more. Now, research consistently shows that leveraging diversity yields positive outcomes. Eliminating this office is like neglecting to pay rent to pay a utility bill. Such prioritization is illogical and harmful to the entire school community. We must make informed decisions by researching best practices, reviewing proven studies, employing critical thinking, and incorporating parent and community input. Making choices that contradict established evidence of effective practices harms our students and undermines our commitment to equity and inclusion. I also want to quickly speak about the Brockton Community and Family Center. The Brockton Community and Family Center is utilized by multiple community-based organizations to provide resources and direct services to students and families. These services range from food distribution, backpack giveaways, parent playgroups, youth programs, to workshops that educate parents on nurturing their children's educational success. This includes helping parents who have children with special needs. Additionally, parents can access necessary resources to help stabilize some of their other priorities. Contrary to what has been said, the center is not diverting funds from schools. On the contrary, it is offering essential services to students and families that complement the support provided by schools. Over the past couple years, in partnership with BPS, this initiative has facilitated access to Infinite Campus for over 120 parents, demonstrating a prime example of what genuine community involvement looks like, aligning with the values that BPS claims to uphold. Given the current budget constraints, one would expect that such supplemental supports for students and families would be prioritized. It is crucial for educational institutions to recognize and appreciate the value of community engagement in enhancing the overall well-being and success of the students and families they serve. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes hearing of visitors. Agenda 5, which is the update from TJ Plan Open Architects. Dr. Cobbs, TJ is unable to join us tonight? Okay. He will be here for next week on the 4th. And before we conclude tonight, the Vice Chair and I wanted to give some information relative to next Tuesday night. We're having a subcommittee finance followed by a regular school committee meeting at 7 o'clock. We will now go on to Agenda 6. I know both Mr. Troy Clarkson, the city CFO, and the interim school business administrator, Patricia Trish Boyer, are here. And again, this is an FY 2025 budget update. Trish and Troy, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Would you like to go first, Troy?
No, go right ahead.
All right, so we've been working diligently on getting the FY25 budget prepared. It's late in the season, so it's been pretty hectic trying to get it done. But nevertheless, we've got a good handle on the salaries, and we've spoken with most of the department heads and getting the budgets, their budgets calculated as well. There's no change in the bottom line since it was introduced to you a few weeks ago, and I've pretty much finished that short budget book and expect to have it tomorrow. So it should be in your next school committee packet for Tuesday night.
The Friday packet, Friday delivery packet.
Yes, I believe it's going out Thursday this week,
Okay.
but nevertheless, it's
Thank
going
you.
out this week.
Any questions for Trish at this time, members of the committee? Any questions for Troy? I do want to just publicly, point of information, myself and the vice chair, and again, Moses Rodriguez in his capacity as council president, have been on regular Zooms with Dr. Cobbs, with Trish, Troy, city solicitor as well, just as recent as yesterday. And again, myself and the vice chair and Dr. Cobbs had another Zoom this afternoon. So We will be getting those packets to you. And then maybe at this time, Vice Chair, because it is, the point of topic is FY 2025. Next Tuesday, again, which is June 4th, we will have a 7 o'clock regular school committee meeting here in the Romm Little Theater. The floor is yours, Vice Chair, to talk about potentially an earlier time for FENCOM subcommittee.
I think with the time constraints that we have, not putting too much more pressure on Trish and Troy and TJ, we should schedule a finance budget hearing on next Tuesday with a 5 p.m. start time. Dr. Cobbs did provide a list of department heads. I don't think all of them are going to present, but all of them will be present here if any committee members do have a question relative to the budget, so they can answer some of the questions. So I think, that 2-hour gap is more than enough time. We don't want to, trying to constrain times and not having ability to ask thorough questions with the budget. So if anybody
Anybody, just to piggyback on the Vice Chair, anybody object with 5 o'clock? I know it's an early start, but Ms. Oliver.
I just have a conflict because I do have a patient I have to see at 4 o'clock. If I can move it, I'll be able to.
Okay.
I can send an email tomorrow.
Okay.
Because when I go to work tomorrow, I can try to change it because it's like an hour away. So
Okay.
I definitely would not be here if I have to see that patient.
Okay. So why don't we put a placeholder for 5 o'clock next Tuesday? It'll be our finance subcommittee. It's specific to the budget. The following week will be the 11th. That will be the last time, and that will be the official time where we will have the public comment for the budget as mandated. And then we'll take a formal vote that night, because the following Tuesday, which will be the 18th of June, is the night that the city budget, BPS budget, will be before the city council. So again, we will meet next Wednesday, which is June 4, 5 o'clock here. We will have the department heads. We will go over the budget. Trish and Troy will be here. Mr. Plant will be here as well via Zoom. We'll be able to ask any questions relative to that. I think 2 hours is sufficient. The hope would be to take a subcommittee vote that night, a favorable vote, to send it back to the full school committee meeting, which again, that formal vote would be on the 11th after we hear public comments for the budget. Public comments are limited. In past practice, they are limited. We'll have that defined. And again, it has to be relative to the budget matter before us. So any questions relative to those matters? Mr. Vega, please.
Not a question so much as a statement. That June 11th date, I will be remote on that meeting.
Okay.
I'll be present, but I'll be remote.
Okay, thank you, thank you. And again, if anybody needs to be remote, we'll have that capacity. Mr. Gomes, followed by Ms. Azak, please.
I will also be remote.
Okay.
I'll be out of the country.
Okay, no, that's fine. Ms. Azak?
Just a point of clarification
Yes.
on the time. Is it going to be 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. for that meeting?
I'm sorry, which meeting?
On the 11th.
The 11th will probably be 6 p.m. that night.
I might be partially remote until I get here. I'll be in Sturbridge,
Okay,
so it's a little bit of
okay,
a drive.
nope,
Okay.
duly noted. Any other questions relative to that? Mr. Sullivan?
Just a clarification.
Yes, sir.
You said Wednesday, but this is actually Tuesday, the 4th?
Sorry?
You said Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, next Tuesday, it'll be the next 3 Tuesdays. It'll be the 4th, the 11th, and then the 3rd will be, again, at City Hall, not here, and that will be the formal City Council budget hearing on Tuesday, June 18th.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Clarkson? Any questions for Ms. Boyer? Trish and Troy, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just Dr. Cobbs reiterated again, so it will be a 7 p.m. That was verified by the council president, Jim? Is that verified by Moses? Okay. Again, you'll get all that information. We'll send it all to you, but
On the 18th, it'll be 7 p.m.
Number 7, discussion of potential vote. I'm going to recognize Mr. Vega, but I also have to take a mea culpa. I have to apologize. When he wanted to make a motion, I articulated a reconsideration, the rules on the Roberts Rules for reconsideration. He was not looking for reconsideration, which is time limited. He was looking for a formal motion to rescind, which is allowed. It is not restricted by time. I do apologize to you, Mr. Vega. A rescission vote can happen, and it could happen with a formal motion, properly seconded. To pass on a rescission vote, it is not a supermajority, 2/3 vote. It is a simple majority. So the floor is yours at this time, Mr. Vega.
I appreciate it. And first of all, I just like to say, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the graciousness and your willingness to kind of talk about this more after that meeting.
Absolutely.
I'd also just like to, just for a second, recognize some members of Ward 1. Mr. Cosme spoke earlier, as did Gabriel and Tyler, and I just got to say how proud you make folks like myself who weren't sure that we were going to get involved in local government. You make me feel good about my decision, and I appreciate it. And I want you to know you are seen and you are heard. All right. With that said, I'll just reread what I had said at the previous meeting. At our May 7th meeting, I expressed concern about the way in which we're handling the approval of the plan to shift schools and programs to different locations. My concern was that by voting on the moves, one building at a time, rather than examining the plan as a whole, we risk painting ourselves into a corner where we'd be forced to make decisions based on what space was left rather than what spaces are best for the programs and students. At the time, the only person who voiced agreement with my concern was Dr. Cobbs. I made the assumption, as a relatively new committee member, that I had overlooked something obvious to others and voted accordingly. As I said in previous meetings, I regret that decision. At our meeting 2 weeks ago, we realized as a committee that we could not continue the process without first gaining a better understanding of enrollment numbers, as well as gathering more information regarding the flexibility we might gain from potential lease renewals and/or acquisitions. Since then, Dr. Cobbs has graciously provided that information and set us up to make more informed decisions. Now, it stands to reason that if we felt we didn't have enough data to make an informed decision at that time, we certainly didn't have enough data to do so on May 7th. So with all that said, I'd like to make a motion to rescind all motions related to building moves made on May 7th.
Mr. Vega, not motions, the actual formal vote. You want to rescind that vote, correct?
My understanding is that the rescind is not about, the reconsideration is about votes.
Yep.
The rescind is about the motion itself. And when that happens,
Attorney Bresnahan, you're here, right? Is that accurate? I don't know that.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, first of all.
Good evening. I think the proper form would be a motion to rescind the action taken on the motions.
The action taken on the motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind the action taken on the motion.
That's the form of a motion. Is there a second on that? Is there a second on that motion? Third and final time, is there a second on that motion? That motion fails at this time. There was no second to the motion.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. So now we will go on to the listed item, which again, Agenda 7, discussion potential vote facility moves. And I know that I want to thank Jamie. I know Desi came out, and that was short order, so thank you very much for that work. Ms. Azak, did you have any comments at this time?
No, I wasn't sure if Mr. If Dr. Lovett, if he needed the microphone.
Sure, absolutely.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for inviting me back again. So as you know, last week, during the committee's discussion relative to the placement of our Edison Day Academy as well as our Therapeutic Day School, we were down to 2 locations, the Payne location and the Jones building. At the request of the committee, we organized a site visit with 2 of our DESE partners. So what's important to note, it is often said that education is a highly regulated industry, and what I would argue is that is accurate, and special education is even more regulated than the general education model. So whenever a decision is made relative to the placement of a DESE-approved public day school, like we have with our Therapeutic Day School, it does require DESE's final approval relative to where that location will be. And I know we were discussing last week about the 2 locations and which might be, which location would make for a smoother approval process relative to that, a DESE approval. So I'll note that yesterday on April 28th, a team assembled. So On behalf of the district administration, we had Superintendent Cobbs, Deputy Wolder, Dr. Connors, the assistant for teaching and learning 6 to 12, Ms. Batone, our clinical director and principal of the Therapeutic Day School, as well as myself and 3 members of the committee. So we had Mr. Sullivan, we had Mr. Rodriguez, and we had Mr. Vega. So from DESE, we had Erin Vanderveer, who is from the Office of Public School Monitoring, and her office is the one that oversees our compliance, so the district's compliance with the multiple regulations and requirements of Massachusetts general law relative to the operations of not only special education, but also civil rights compliance, as well as English language learners. She was joined by Holly Ann Neal from the Special Education Policy and Planning Office. Originally, the state director was supposed to be here, but her schedule conflicted, so Holly came in her stead for the review. So the team assembled at the Payne Building at 1 p.m., and we were joined there by the ALC coordinator, who graciously showed us around. We viewed all 3 floors of the building, looked at the instructional spaces as well as available office spaces. We then transitioned over to the Jones Building at around 1:45 p.m., and we were joined by Principal Silva over at Promise, who graciously gave of her time and again showed us around the building, the instructional spaces, and the available office spaces. What I will say is, following that tour, the team assembled in Dr. Silva's office to sort of discuss with DESE their initial thoughts and feedback. And again, the question that was posed was, of the 2 locations, which do you anticipate to be a smoother approval? The feedback from DESE was that the Brockton Therapeutic Day School is a better fit for this space in the Jones building, that physical location. The rationale was that the smaller class sizes, the smaller classroom spaces lended itself relative to the smaller class sizes that we have in the Therapeutic Day School, as well as the accessibility of smaller office spaces for our therapeutic staff to work with our students. DESE also spoke to the availability of a gymnasium, a functional kitchen that actually cooks food for the students, as well as the neighborhood setting in which the building was located, all being ideally suited to the population who attends our Therapeutic Day School. When asked about the anticipation of the approval, they anticipated a smooth approval process relative to the Jones building, as it meets all of the needed requirements of the operation of a Therapeutic Day School. So again, DESE has fairly structured rubrics. So when we reach out to them with our application to move the program, we would say, here's where we're proposing, and please come out and do a walkthrough with us. They will go through a series of checklists and look for required components of that location. When asked about, it was noted that the Jones building allows for proper space to begin the reentry and reintroduction of our elementary grades back to the Therapeutic Day School. As you know, the program was restricted about 2 school years ago now, upon my arrival, to just service our 6 to 12 population, and a number of students were outplaced relative to the closing of the elementary grades. As we look to the future, the goal is to bring back our elementary students as a potential cost-saving measure, and also we believe firmly that as Brockton students, they belong in Brockton with us, going to school in their community, which is the right of every student. When asked about the opposite, so let's talk about the Payne building, which was also discussed. What they anticipated was far more challenges in attaining DESE approval, given the restrictions or the lack of an available gym space, as well as a functional cafeteria. We then asked them to be fair about the placement of one of our choice high schools, right, in the same location. Their feedback was, and I don't want to misquote, and the other members that were there, I think heard the same statement, which was, students with disabilities do not have a choice relative to what they need given their disability. When you are having a 9 to 12 choice school, students are making the choice to attend that school with full knowledge that there may or may not be a gymnasium, right? With full knowledge that we may have to bring food in. When we talk about students who have identified disabilities who have a federal right to an education. The expectation is that they are our priority as an organization and that they are situated first, and then all others come second. Again, they were very clear that they weren't sort of prioritizing one program over another. What they were saying was the reality you have is the regulations surrounding the approval of locations for students with disabilities. And again, the other piece being, I think I might have mentioned this already, but that if the committee does decide to place the therapeutic day school in the Payne location, they anticipate far more challenges, which could potentially, if they do not finally approve the physical plant of the location, we would have to go into sort of a Plan B mode relative to finding appropriate placements for students where we would not have one available in the city. So I'll defer to the others that were there on the committee that were a part of the site visit, but that's a sort of 30,000-foot synopsis of the roughly 2 hours or so that we spent together with our DESE partners. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are.
Any members that joined on the tour would like to have any comments at this time? Or any questions for Jamie at this time? None? Okay. Oh, Mr. Vega, please.
I'll just make the comment that the tour and, Dr. Cobbs and Doctor, I'm still struggling with your last name.
That's okay.
Can you say it one time?
Jamie's all right.
Can you say it one time?
LeBilwa.
LeBilwa. Dr. LeBilwa and what Dr. Cobbs put together in a relatively short period of time is the kind of opportunity that I find myself needing and wanting to get a better understanding of what's going on and why we're making the sorts of decisions that we are. So I just want to say publicly, I appreciate that move on both of your parts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vega.
Thank you.
Any other Ms. Azak, followed by Mr. Sullivan, please.
Just a quick question. I had requested just a number of students at each location, their actual attendance, not how many are registered, but how many are actually attending each program. Because that's how I base, is the size of the building, the number of the students, things like that. Were you able to get that from me, Dr. Cobbs?
So, we've sent that several times, but Dr. Collins, if you'd like to comment on it.
Ms. Azak, just so I'm clear, enrollment or attendance or both?
Both, because if we have, say, a certain number that's enrolled, but not every one of them is attending. So if you have both numbers, that would be helpful.
So our current enrollment at the Therapeutic Day School, again, which is not a choice school, students are placed there as a result of a team meeting in their IEP, is 43 students in grades 7 through 12. The current enrollment for Edison Day proper, meaning not pathway students who are typically at the Re-Engagement Center in New Beginnings, is 81 students. I think we sent you the attendance trends. I apologize, my understanding was that you were looking for the Huntington attendance trends, but I did go ahead tonight and bring with me the Edison Day attendance trends. So year to date, the attendance trends for the Therapeutic Day School, which is all students, is at 72%. Year to date, the Edison Day Academy attendance trends. Now this one's a little, you can't disaggregate this because students who attend the Re-Engagement Center have to be connected to a Chapter 70 school. So this actually is 143 students worth of data. It's at 67%. But students are also on a flexible schedule at the Re-Engagement Center, so it's a little wonky in my professional term.
In the re-engagement, we have the morning program and the afternoon
They
program.
do morning and afternoon, so they do capture attendance, but the way they have to capture it doesn't fit in, it's a square peg in a round hole, so.
Thank you.
If I may, while I have the mic.
Sure.
Well, to your point, Ms. Asak, about enrollment, one point that I do want to make about Champion last year at the Jones Building, we did have 3 times the teachers that we currently have at Edison Day. We had 122 students at Champion last year. We have 81, as I mentioned, at Edison Day this year. There are only 6 classrooms in the Jones Building that are large enough to fit maybe 20 students. We could make it work at Champion last year because we had 4 English teachers, 3 science, 3 math, for example. So you could create a very complex schedule that allows for small classes because you had multiple English teachers, multiple math, and so forth. Now with only 1 English, 1 math, 1 science, and 1 social science, you have to schedule them very differently, and with only 6 rooms that would be available to use at the Jones Building, it's just not feasible. It also limits our ability to grow Edison Day because I wouldn't have seats available. We would have to, not I, hire at least 2 more staff members for Edison Day to try and make it work at the Jones Building. And with our prioritization of staffing needs across the district in special ed, in our elementary classrooms and in our bilingual classrooms, that's just not a priority area right now. So just something to think about. The large classrooms at the Payne Center, the ALC, would fit Edison Day beautifully, allow us to create the schedule that is needed and increase enrollment and grow the program because, again, it is a choice school. I probably gave you too much information there, but.
You can never have too much info. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, Jamie. Great presentation. Great presentation. It was almost like I was there.
Yeah.
What I didn't hear from you was a recommendation from your department.
I think it's a strong recommendation from the Office of Unified Student Services that our therapeutic day school be placed at the Jones Building for the 24-25 academic year and beyond.
Thank you. Could you just say your title again? What is your actual title?
Sure. Dr. James Labilla. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Unified Student Services for the Brockton Public Schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, please.
Thank you. Dr. Connors, a few years back when we were discussing the Edison Day program, so it's a choice school. So can you just elaborate why it's a choice school? Because when it was presented to the committee, a choice school is that the kids that can't be in a bigger setting, smaller classrooms, they suffer from a variety of issues, and that's why they pick that school. Can you just, so the public can know what
Certainly. So
the
with a
difference between
choice
the
school, so Brockton High, as we know, is amazing as it is huge with almost 4,000 students and is not for everyone. And it's not so much about the size of the classes that are making a difference for students, but the small community feel of a building, meaning there are not 4,000 students. There's also, you do have a smaller student-to-teacher ratio, which makes a difference. You may not have 30, 35 in a classroom. Would I love to have 20 students in a classroom in every class across the district? Of course, but that's not feasible. And so when I mentioned like only fitting 20 in a class, it just means you're restricted to 6 classrooms at the Jones Building was my main point there. But yes, it is a choice school. There was a misconception, I know previously, that Champion at the time, now EDA, was for bad kids, kids who couldn't behave, kids who didn't belong at Brockton High, and that is not the case. They are students who maybe started at Brockton High and maybe experienced some missteps because they weren't fitting in there themselves. They didn't feel comfortable. They weren't able to seek out the necessary supports. The supports are there at Brockton High, but in such a large building, it can be overwhelming. Think of your first visit to a big city. I'm just from Little Rock, so my first time in Boston, it was very overwhelming to me. So that's really the piece, that misconception that Champion or Edison Day is for bad kids who misbehave and get thrown out of Brockton High is not it at all. I often find that students who have started at Brockton High thrive once they get to that smaller community because there's not 4,000 students, there's maybe 150 to 200.
Thank you. I just, filled in a lot of questions. A lot of people, thank you for clearing that up, because a lot of people think that it's a placement for kids with a lot of behavioral problems. And you try to explain to them, it's not.
And there could be students who did have, most of the behaviors though are they're wandering, they're cutting because they're disengaged. And this is our opportunity to bring them back into the fold and engage them differently.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Chair. Any additional questions at this time? Thank you both. What's the will of the committee at this time, please? Is there a motion relative to the matters that are before us tonight?
So are we voting on the last two?
So it's the will of the committee, Mrs. Sullivan, if you wanted to make a motion.
Okay. I make a motion to move the students to the Jones Building. They're at the Huntington Therapeutic Day students to the Jones Building.
Second.
Is the engagement held in abeyance right now?
We're engaging because the committee voted to write an RFP to keep the re-engagement center there, so that's tabled for now.
I just wanted
So
to...
the only move that we're considering tonight, recommending, is Therapeutic Day School to the Jones Building and the Edison Day Program to the Payne Building.
I just wanted to make a comment, if I
Yeah,
could.
it's your motion, on the motion, please?
The Jones Building on Summer Street in Ward 4 used to be the May Institute,
Right.
which was a school that served children with autism. So it's I thank the committee, the executive committee, for carefully thinking over these moves. They know the numbers, they know the students that would benefit from these buildings, and I really want to thank them.
On the motion? On the motion, Mr. Gomes, please.
Dr. Cobbs, what's the capacity of the Jones building?
What's the capacity of the Jones Building? Again, I think 150, 200 students.
260. And the Payne,
I'm sorry?
the capacity for Payne,
He-
Payne building.
It's probably about the same.
You all set, Mr. Gomes? On the motion, Ms. Oliver?
Yeah, on the motion. You might have the answer for me. For the out-of-state, out-of-state, for the out-of-city placement for elementary, how many students do we have now? Do we have hopes to bring them back to put them in a therapeutic?
I don't want to double speak, but it's a complicated question to answer because the IEPs are reviewed on an annual cycle. So of the number that were outplaced, we were, I believe, at 12. There have been 4 meetings so far where we have attempted to bring back our students, but those meetings have not been successful relative to the current status of the program. If we look ahead to next year, we're not only thoughtful of students we're looking to bring back in district, but also those students who are currently in our EI strands who might need a more restrictive placement. And right now, in our elementary grades, we run a number of EI programs across the elementary schools, and we are experiencing a number of students that have significant clinical needs that are outpacing our ability in the buildings to manage. So it's hard to pinpoint a number, but we were proposing as an initial 1-year stopgap to begin to reopen elementary was a 2-3 sort of split grade classroom configuration and a 4-5. That would, now that becomes an option again, and our team and chairs are aware that that's an option, and our district is sort of back to the point of knowing that that's a positive place for students to go and is an available option, that will give us a year to gauge whether, to what extent we need to grow and actually add more elementary teachers. So kind of year 1, because right now it's not an option for our teams, it's difficult to put a number on how many kids would come back for elementary. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Also, like, what is the class size that we want to cap it at?
For the therapeutic day
Yes.
school, no more than 12.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Any other questions on the motion? We do have a motion. Any formal questions relative to the motion? Seeing none, motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan. For the record, it was properly seconded by Mr. Sullivan. I will read the roll, and it was just specific to the therapeutic school going to the Jones Building. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so that does pass. Now I believe we would have to entertain a motion relative to the Edison. Is there a motion relative to the Edison? Ms. Oliver, are we going to say something?
I was going to motion.
Sure, yeah.
Motion to move the Edison to the Payne building.
Form of a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Can I
Motion
just,
on the motion? I just have for the record, it was made by Ms. Oliver, there was a second by Mr. Sullivan, and on the motion, please.
I just wanted to ask Dr. Cobbs,
Sure,
that was the
Yes, that is a
move that
recommendation, yes.
the executive team and you
Yes,
discussed?
that is our recommendation.
That's the correct, okay.
Any other things on the motion? If not, I'm going to call the roll at this time. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
No.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Nope.
Ms. Azak?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Again, if we could, just for the record, if we could just raise your hand if you said yes, just so we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to 3, that does prevail. We will, next week, there was a Scrivener's error, so on the agenda coming forward, you're going to see Mr. Mike Morris, the Chief Procurement Officer, being invited, and also Megan Bridges, the City Solicitor, to talk about the procurement, but also, more importantly, the RFP process. We have to get an RFP out on the street. And again, the re-engagement, for all intents and purposes, it's on hold right now, and that's why time is of the essence on that. Vice Chair, please.
On the move, we have to take a deeper look in renaming the Jones Building. That was specifically named because of the program that we placed there, and I don't think it's suitable. I'm upset that, we have to put these kids somewhere, that name to carry on. We should move it to where the Edison Day program will move, so we would have to change that name. We have to revisit that, so, because that name followed with them, so.
And again, a lot of us knew Superintendent, the late superintendent, just a great, great man. So we can have the naming subcommittee look into that as well. I don't know the process on that, but we can look into that. Any other matters relative to Agenda 7, which was discussion potential vote facility moves? Seeing none, we will go into Agenda 8, executive session. I just need to read into the record, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, where an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the school committee's bargaining position, IBAA -TEA. And then the second matter is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to discuss strategy and preparation for contract negotiations with non-union personnel. I need a motion from the membership to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session?
Motion made by Mr. Sullivan. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Vega made the second. We have a formal motion made, probably second. I have to call the roll right now. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. And again, please note, we will not be coming back into open regular session. Members of the committee, because of the air conditioner, we won't be going to the regular room, the band room that we go for executive session. We're going to be going down to the left into a room in the green building, okay? So just take a left and we'll go through the overpass. Thank you. Thank you, BCA.